Hey guys, Friday afternoon, time for a title commitment legal tip. So I know you guys have heard this many times. Lender says they're waiting on title work, and if they don't get title work within a certain number of days, then they're going to postpone the closing. And so you're asking yourself, how do I even respond to that as an agent? And what does that even mean? What does it mean they need title work? So let me explain this. It'll be a very important legal tip for y'all today to know how to respond back to that. So the first thing is, what is title work? So this is title work. This is where we have sent our title abstractor over to the county courthouse, the Register of Deeds office, to pull all the deeds, the mortgages, the easements, the restrictions, the liens, mortgages, tax liens, all the information about this property. And this can take days, not just hours, but oftentimes days and sometimes weeks if title's crazy, to prepare all this and to write this up. So once this is done, then we get that document from the title abstractor, these documents, and then we have to load them in our system. And then we have a title reviewer who's got to go through all of them, bookmark them into our system, and then they have to go through every single page to see what it is and whether it affects our closing. And so they're going to compare deeds to make sure that everything's being conveyed properly, that it was witnessed, it was notarized, it has the right language in the deeds. They got to look at restrictions and utility easements and taxes and mortgages and find everything they can about the property to know what that property is. Now, once they spend days, and that takes days also to do in some cases, definitely hours, but a lot of times days, they take this information and then they create this 3-page document, which is the title commitment. So this takes days, weeks to prepare and review. This is 3 pages that could be reviewed in just a matter of minutes. So what is in the title commitment? Well, a title commitment is nothing more than a commitment for the title insurance to issue title insurance once the closing is completed along these terms. And so what we have here is a 3-page document, which is about the length of most of these. The first page simply just gives you the name of the borrower and how much the loan's going to be and so forth and who owns the property now. And that comes to the meat of what this is. We have 2 pages. One's going to be exceptions and requirements. Exceptions and requirements. That's all we have. So under the requirements are the list of items that the closing attorney needs to clear in order to get the loan closed and the title insurance policy issued. Most of the time, it doesn't even affect the loan or the borrower because it's seller stuff. Like here, we got to pay off a mortgage and we got to get corporate authorization. So typically, there's very little to anything in here that affects what the lender's looking at. Then we have our standard exceptions from the title policy. They stay the same from closing to closing. And then it brings us to the last page, which is our exception. Now, this one has a little bit more than normal, but most of them are just a few exceptions. And what they're doing is listing things of title such as utility easements, the restrictions and covenants and things of that nature, which really don't affect closing. And if things are affecting closing, then this is usually the closing attorney who's going to be clearing them anyway. So the point being is, what is it their lender's really asking for when they say they need to see title work? It's not title work. It's this 3-page title commitment, which, as we know, only takes a minute or two to respond. So why are some lenders saying if we don't get title work to them 10 to 15 days prior to closing, that we have to postpone closing? It takes 2 minutes to review this. So before I answer that, let me say this. Use local lenders. You 100% need to use our local lenders. Local lenders mean local jobs, but local lenders do a great job of these things because you're friends with these people. You can call them up. You work with them. You know them from CCRA. You know them from BIA, and you can pick up the phone and say, hey, give us a little bit of time on this or whatever you need. And so local lenders do a great job of adjusting to the local market. So whatever you do, talk your clients into using our local lenders. So the reason that some of these lenders say, well, we need this 10 or 15 days is because they have burdensome processes on underwriting. And what it means is they're not going to look at this for 10 or 15 days. In fact, once we send it to them, they probably won't look at it at all for several days. It just goes in the underwriting file, and then their underwriter will start doing it. And so what our local lenders are doing is they're adjusting and saying, no, we'll go ahead and send everything we have to underwriting. And when the commitment comes in, then we'll supplement that in underwriting and get it reviewed. Because this, again, takes 2 or 3 minutes. So when a lender tells you that, your question, your response is, why do you need the 3-page commitment? I've seen what they look like. Why do you need it 10 or 15 days? Y'all need to go to your underwriting and get them to adjust their underwriting like our good local lenders are doing. Now, last thing I will tell you is we'll do everything we can at Blair Cato, as I know all closing attorneys and title companies are, to get your closing turned as quick as possible. But just keep in mind, we're talking hours and hours of work and minutes to review. So really need to understand that. And I think hopefully now you'll be able to respond to the lender when they try to tell you if they don't get closing attorney to get them title work, that they really mean title commitment. And really what they mean is they just want to stick it in their file and they'll review it at some time in the future because it literally takes 3 to 5 minutes to close. So hopefully that helps you out. I look forward to seeing you at the next closing.